The next 6 lessons will be about the Holy Eucharist. Even though this is the greatest sacrament, we will only spend 6 lessons on it this year because we already produced 40 lessons on the Mass in past years, and those are still available to you and your friends and family for free on relevantradio.com. Now, do you remember the definition of a sacrament from our first lesson? A sacrament is an outward sign instituted by Christ to give grace. And that definition really fits the Holy Eucharist. I bet you already know when Jesus instituted the Holy Eucharist. It was at the Last Supper, the night before he suffered and died for us, when he gathered the apostles in the upper room and said the words of the consecration and changed the bread and wine into his body and blood by saying, "This is my body," and "This is my blood," and then, "Do this in memory of me." About 6 months before the Last Supper, Jesus gave the Bread of Life discourse in the synagogue in Capharnaum. That took place the day after Jesus multiplied the loaves and fishes, feeding 5,000 men, not counting women and children. The people were so enthusiastic with the miracle, they wanted to make Jesus their king. So they followed him and found him the next morning and said, "What do we have to do to perform these works of God?" And Jesus said, "You have to believe in me." And that began the discourse on the bread of life. At the beginning of that discourse, you could argue Jesus was speaking metaphorically about being the bread of life. But when we reach verse 52 of the 6th chapter of St. John, there's no more metaphor. Jesus speaks clearly. He said, "And now, what is this bread which I am to give? It is my flesh, given for the life of the world." Flesh, carne, very clear. If we want to be saved, we must eat his flesh and drink his blood. He said it very clearly 6 times during that discourse. And 6 months later, he said it for the 7th time at the Last Supper when he said, "This is my body." And the apostles believed. That was the moment of institution. And we commemorate that every time we pray the 5th luminous mystery of the Rosary on Thursdays. So I hope you tune in every day of Lent to learn more about your Catholic faith, because if you learn it, then you can live it. And if you live it, you will love it. And if you love it, you will never leave it.